Right. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. If you are here, just let me know. Let me know in the chat that you are here and you are live with us this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We are live. We are live, and today we're going to be talking about something that is very common amongst us parents. It's very common, and today that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the possibility of what starts to happen when you stop yelling. What happens when you stop yelling and you start structuring? What happens when you stop yelling and you start structuring? So we are live. We're live. Welcome everyone. Welcome once again to the 10 Time Morning Show, where we discuss everything about raising genius kids. My name is Chris and I am your host. Okay. Samuel, I see you. Good morning. Good morning. Let's wait for more people to join. Welcome, 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 welcome. Okay. Welcome. Oh. All right. So today we're going to talk about what happens when you stop yelling and you start structuring. And most of the time you realize that, oh, okay, the thing that needs to happen isn't the thing that you think, right? We've gotten so used to yelling that somehow we feel like that's the only way. We feel like that's the only way. So you're sitting, let's say, for example, a table, you're sitting at a table and you say to your child, sit down and do your homework. And then nothing happens. They don't say anything. They don't flinch. Right? And then you wait a minute and you say it again. Okay, sit down and do your homework. Still nothing. Now your voice gets louder. You're like, I said sit down and do your homework. And finally they respond. Not because they suddenly want to do the homework, not because they suddenly want to study, but because your voice being loud has made it clear that you are serious. Now, this is typically like what we are used to. But here's what happens next. Tomorrow, you say again in a soft voice, Emeka, sit down and do your homework. They don't take you seriously, right? They don't listen. And then you say it again louder. And you have to like repeat that crescendo. Excuse me. You have to repeat that crescendo tone of yelling before their brain realizes that, oh, you are being serious. And for every day, you have to go louder. So if you were at 40 pitch today, tomorrow you have to be at 60. The next one you'll be at 80. The next one you'll be at 100. The next one you'll be at 120. And it keeps going on and on and on and on and on. At some point, you are really asking yourself, like, At some point, you start asking yourself, what am I really, what is happening? You start asking yourself, what is really happening? What am I doing? Right? Now, the thing that happens here is that nobody is happy at that point, because even your child doesn't like the fact that they are being yelled at, and also you don't like the fact that you have to yell for you to be heard. And the funny thing is that your child is also picking up that behavior. They're picking up that behavior that if they want to be heard, then they have to yell. So, what if the problem isn't that they are not listening? What if the problem is that you have been doing it the wrong way entirely? What if yelling is the wrong tool entirely? What if the wrong tool is the wrong? What if the yelling is the wrong tool entirely? You see, when you repeatedly tell a child to do something using only words, their brain eventually like tunes you as this one is making noise. It's called selective attention. Your voice that you're using to shout, it becomes background noise. It becomes background noise. So think about it from the child's perspective. They hear the same commands all day: sit down, focus, listen, stop playing, hurry up, come down there, jump down, do it. Everybody is shouting and yelling at them. And so after the 100th time, it just becomes noise, Jerry. It just becomes sounds, right? So you escalate, right? So their brain learns that these sounds don't actually mean that, oh, you have to do it right now, because at the end of the day, it can be ignored. So what do? You escalate it. You get louder because you are assuming that the child is not hearing you. But it's not a volume problem. It's not how loud you are. It's an attention problem. So the command has become meaningless. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Now, let me teach you something that changes everything, which is rules versus structure. Most people make rules, but the people that know what to do, they build structure. Let me tell you the difference. So a rule is a statement about what not to do. So a rule tells you what not to do. Don't hit your sibling. Don't play before homework. Don't be rude. Don't touch that phone. Don't kidney. Don't that. Those are rules. Rules tell the child what not to do, but they don't tell them what to do. They don't tell them what to do. And the child's brain is left figuring out the alternative. And most of the time, it's often incorrect. Most of the time, it's often incorrect. Structure on its own, structure is entirely different. What structure does is that it shows the child what to do. That is, it focuses on not the wrong thing, but the right thing. So it answers the question before it becomes a problem. Because if you focus on saying, oh, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, your child's brain in that moment is thinking, okay, if I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, what else am I supposed to do? So what structure does is that structure front loads that and says, do this instead. And this is, for some reason, I feel like parents don't like to tell their children what to do. They focus so much on telling them what not to do. I mean, it's because parenting of today has become more reactionary than you don't front load, you don't see them before they happen. You kind of like react to the thing that happens in your front, not necessarily the one that you're supposed to teach your child. And this is discipline. Discipline comes from the word disciplina, which means to teach. And so, like, if you are not really taking time to teach your child what you think they should know, you are not really disciplining them. Discipline doesn't mean when you carry koboko or carry cane or when you are punishing them. Discipline and punishment are not the same thing. Discipline is teaching. Intentional teaching. You teach ahead of time. You say, oh, this is what you have to do. When you wake up in the morning, you do this. You are preparing for that. Right? And so what the difference is knowing which one to do, when to do it, and how to do it. That's what structure does. So instead of a rule saying don't play before homework, what structure will do in that situation is here's the schedule. So you come back by school by 3:30. You can rest from 3:30 to 4 p.m. Now we're going to do your homework by 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Then after that, you can go and play. Do you see? Do you see how like it follows a strict pattern? It doesn't say, oh, what not to do. It just basically creates a front loads expectation of what is to happen. That is structure. And this expectation, it can follow, it goes very well to also front load what will happen when they don't follow that structure. What like, let me calm down. All right. So let's say, for example, your child is supposed to do A, and then you tell them that by the time they do A, they're going to get B. And this is like, it's not like you're using external or motivations or like you're buying stuff or anything like that. This is just basically telling them what happens next after H, right? And then if they do this, or when the time comes for X and they don't do that, then they're not going to get this. Shake it out. Right? So when the time comes, because when a child can see the plan that you have and understand the sequence, they don't have to figure it out. All they need to do is just to follow the structure that you have already set. And here's the most important part. The most important part is structure needs to be seen. It needs to be visual. Children respond to seeing the plan way better than hearing the plan. So it needs to be like a proper timetable. All my documents are I have NDA. Abi? Yes, I have NDAs for most of the parents that we coach. I would have shown you what it looks like for the parents that we have created this for. I would have shown you what it looks like. But maybe later, maybe much later, we can do that. We can find something, or maybe one of these days I'll demonstrate it to you. Right? Structure needs to be visual. It needs to be seen. In the Bible, it says, make it plain. Make it plain. Right? Children respond to seeing the plan way better than hearing it. You can tell your child 10 times what is happening this morning, or you can point them to a schedule and say, oh, this is it. So let's say, for example, you create a schedule that says, wake up, eat breakfast, get dressed, brush your teeth, ready for school. And they can see it lined up there. Every morning, you don't have to repeat it because it's there. Right? Sometimes when you're not asking questions, you're not saying what are you supposed to be doing today, or you're not saying, I thought I told you, you're saying, take a look there. What does it say? Less stress, right? Why does visual work so much better? Is because the child doesn't have to hold it in their head. They can see it, and their brain can focus on executing each step instead of trying to remember what happens next or what step happens next. Okay? Now, there are three major times when everything kind of like goes to the major problem or challenges that parents have, especially like with structure. There are three structures that create the biggest difference in most homes. And the first one is the morning structure. The morning structure. I think we talked about this in week 3, which is body, mind, and prepare. Right? So visual schedule on the wall is basically knowing what your child should do in the morning. It's basically a morning routine, more or less. A morning routine. That's the time that the parents hear the most, especially now that school is about to start. And for most, school have started. Or for I think most people, school will start next week. That morning that you have to wake your child, most of the time, that's the craziest period, right? You find yourself yelling a lot. You wake up angry. You are you child. The second structure is the after school structure. I talked about it, the 10 minute ritual that we covered, and brain dump, how they transition to rest and how they transition to doing their homework and all of that. When that is consistent, you have a proper evening structure. Then the last structure is the bedtime structure. The time you wind down, the routine, the lights out, same time every night. When bedtime is structured, your child knows what to expect and gets to bed easier. And they sleep better because their nervous system is regulated by consistency. Their nervous system is regulated by consistency. This is so important. And I think tomorrow's topic is about sleep schedule. I made a big module out of this because sleep, the time that you go to bed, is the most important time. I'll keep using myself as an example. I used to be I don't dey sleep on time. I will be awake until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Wetin I dey do? I don't know. It took starting this morning show, to realize that, oh my God, if I want to be able to show up here energetic, if I want to show up here ready, if I want to show up here sharp, I have to go to bed on time. And the moment I implanted that in my head, 10 p.m., latest 11 p.m., you will find me on my bed. And somehow I sleep. And I sleep and I wake up way early. I prepare. Imagine if I slept by 2 a.m. If I slept, maybe today I sleep by 3, the next day I slept by 2, the other one I slept by, you know, it distorts the flow of everything. The time you sleep is very important. It's very important. And so creating that structure for your children early. I remember it's this country that spoiled my sleep schedule. Because I remember back then in school, we don't have light in our hostel. And so the only time that they brought light was around 1 a.m. So for years, I would stay up till 1 a.m. waiting for lights. I would stay up till 1 a.m. waiting for light. And so it kind of like got to me, even when I now have consistent power supply, I still stay up until that time for some reason. So don't be like me, okay? Change. Have that time, have a structure. And I'm saying this because it's important. You see, children who respond to, okay, I think I've mentioned this. See, I'm running faster than my slide. Children respond to visual schedules than verbal instruction. Okay? And so the old approach, or rather the ones that you have been doing all this while, has been repeating instructions 10 times. Repeating instructions multiple times. Right? But the fix is a simple, put a visual schedule on the wall. Create a schedule and put it on the wall. Create a schedule and put it on the wall. You see, a dad reached out. This guy, he was an engineer. He didn't have time. I mean, he does serious work, and so he was a single dad, and he had 3 children. He was yelling constantly. He said every morning was chaos. Evenings were stressful. Then bedtime was a battle. All his kids, he was always exhausted and frustrated. He loves them all, but he was frustrated. So when he came to us and he signed up for one of our coaching programs, he was like, Chris, help me. So the simple thing that we did was that we helped him to create structure around his house, around his home. We got all the details about his children, about him, about his schedule, and all of that. And we use that to create a full structure for him, including academic structure as well. You know, in terms of what the children are studying, when they should study, all of that. We created all that, did all of that. And so when we were done, after we done, we printed it out for him. We gave it out to him to print, and he simply wrote them on the whiteboard and put them on the fridge. He put them on a whiteboard on the fridge. Morning schedule, after school checklist, or bedtime routine. Simple visual, same every day. And so the first day, after he told his kids, this is what we're going to be doing, this is what we're going to be, this is the schedule on the board. Of course, there's something, there's a secret ingredient that we put, but I'll not tell you that today. Okay? The secret ingredient that we put. Anyways, and so by the first day, the children did not know what to do with the schedule. We enforced. Second day, a bit better. By a week in, the children were checking the board. They're checking what comes next. They were following the sequence. And we told the dad, no matter what happens, never yell. Just simply activate the consequence. Right? The secret ingredient of rewards and consequences. Rewards and consequences. It's very important because normally, ideally, in a good world, ordinarily it will be enough if you did nothing else. But then we know that children will not do what you tell them to do. So you have to add some micro ingredients inside there to make it work. And so that's what we did. And so by a week in, the kids were checking the board. They were checking what comes next. Right? Because they could see the plan. And after like 2 weeks, this same man who has been burnt out from yelling so much, he came to me and he was telling me, I'm barely yelling anymore. The schedule is the boundary. My children now by themselves, they do what they're supposed to do. I just come and I see that, they are studying at home, and they're studying at home. They don't wait for me to chase them about. This is the first time in my life this is happening. You was sure. For some of you that have been following me for a very long time, if you remember a story, I told about it on my Instagram. Mr. Nadi, he's the man. If you've been following me for like since maybe 2023, you would know this because I shared his story a lot of times back in the day when a lot of men used to come in, but then they will be like, "Oh, as a man, are you sure I can implement this your system?" Right? I was using him as an example. So yeah, that's the story I just told. And so if yelling is your default right now, I want you to try replacing it with structure. So this week, pick one time of day, create a visual schedule or checklist, and see what changes. Stop yelling. Just focus on laying the rule, laying the structure. And if you love this episode, this morning, subscribe. And then share this with a parent who you know, who you have seen yell. If you've seen somebody yell before, carry this episode now and send it to them and say, this is what you have to do instead. So, congratulations on staying to the end. If this helped you, like I said, share this stream with your loved ones. We come here every morning to teach you one thing. I don't want to crowd it. I don't want to teach you 3 things. I want to teach you only one that you can take and you can go and do them. You can go and implement them and you will get results. You show me, I promise you, you will get results. It might seem simplistic. It might seem like, this is basic. It's not basic, It is not basic. It is born out of tested and hundreds of trials for us to get what works. And I am giving it to you on a platter. So go ahead and share it with everyone. Share it with your parents. Share it with your friends. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with your family members. Post on your WhatsApp status. Help them. Do you know that when you give somebody something valuable, they will like you? A couple of my friends, when I put them onto something, they're like, if you want something nice, if you want something, go and talk to Chris. Chris knows all the best things. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for you when you share something that is good to your friends, to your colleagues. They're going to respect you more for putting them on. They will say, this person cares about me. So take this stream now and share it with them. Post on your story and all of that. Okay? If you're going to learn, if you want to learn more about structure, in May, the month of May, we're launching a program where we will take you through every single thing and give you all the tools. By I think by May, we should make an announcement very soon and push out the wait list for those of you who are interested, and we will make something specifically for you. For some of you who have been through my programs, you know how it is, right? I won't talk too much. So tomorrow we are connecting two things that nobody talks about together, which is sleep and school performance. I'm going to show you the relationship between the time your child goes to bed and how they perform in school, right? Is wrecking their school day if your child goes to bed too late and doesn't get enough sleep. And tomorrow I'm going to show you the connection. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if you enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if you enjoyed this episode this morning. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Once I see your comments, I log off. I think this is our longest episode yet. All right, guys. Tell me now. Tell me. Great, 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 great. Martha, I see you. All right. So thank you guys very much. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you showing up every morning. I hope I continue to see you tomorrow. We're going to talk more on this, and I'll see you when I see you. Have a great day. Bye.